Hi guys, welcome back. Been a little bit since my last video, but today we're going to review the Hellbringer Drake from Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings. This is a beautiful model, so let's go ahead and dive in to this review. To start off, I just want to thank Para Bellum Wargames for sending me this model. I didn't know they were sending it to me, it just kind of showed up in the mail last week, so I decided I would do a review of it. There's a lot to say about this model. It's probably the second coolest model they've made for Conquest. I think it comes in a little bit below the Apex Predator for me. Now, the first thing that stuck out to me on this model is just the size of it. It is just as wide as it is long, it's very bulky, it fills up that base plate, and it's just beautiful. There are so many cool details sculpted on this model. Everything from the texture of the skin, which is kind of a mix between like an elephant hide and a scaly like lizard skin, which is really cool. It's also got some very great texturing on the harness on the back. Those cannons, the metal has scratches and dents and damage in it. It's going to be a ton of fun to paint. The Hellbringer Drake is currently the second largest model in Conquest. He's bigger than the Abomination and the Jotnar, but he is just a little bit smaller than the Apex Predator, and you can see that clearly here in this size comparison that I'm doing. Now, it was a little hard to get both the Apex Predator and the Hellbringer Drake on the screen at the same time, but I did the best I could. And as you can see, this guy is massive. Putting this model together was pretty simple. It took me about 2 hours to finish all the assembly and have it to a point where I was happy with it. Now, you'll notice I've kept it in sub-assemblies. This is to simplify the painting process later on. While I was building this model, I did run into some issues with the gaps that form between the major pieces of the body of the Hellbringer Drake. Now, you can avoid this a little bit by applying pressure to the model as you're building it and just holding it for longer while the model cures. But if you do run into gaps, just fill them in with some filler putty and it should be fine. Now, there are also some holes on the bottom of the feet, as you can see here. Now, holes 2, 3, and 4 are going to be covered up on the base plate, but hole 1 is an elevated foot, so you might want to fill that in or put a rock under that foot when you do your model. When you get around to working on the cannons and the harness, make sure you take your time when gluing it together. There are some pieces on the bottom that look like they're designed to sit together flush, but when you glue them that way, you'll find that they don't fit on the back of the Hellbringer. Now, this is an easy solution. All you gotta do is use some plastic glue and glue those together, and then set the harness on the back of the model and make sure you line up where the pieces are supposed to sit and then let it dry like that. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues with your saddle not fitting on the model, especially around those back legs. One last tip I have for building this model, there is a knob on the back of the tongue. That corresponds to a hole that's in the neck of the model. You want to make sure you take your time to line those up, because otherwise your head is not going to sit the way that it's supposed to sit, and it's going to be very hard to make it look natural. And this isn't clearly detailed in the instructions, so I felt it was important to include that here. Overall, I'm very happy with this model. It's going to be a ton of fun to paint, it wasn't that difficult to build, and the additional hobbying skills you need to build it are not all that extensive. Now, I've been brainstorming color schemes, and I'm thinking I'm going to do some blue and yellow for this Drake. I'm thinking blue for the main scale colors, and then yellow on the more heavily armored scales. Haven't decided on the armor yet. I don't have any other Dwagom in my collection, so if you've got any cool ideas that you think would go well with the blue and yellow, let me know in the comments. Now, if you'd like to get a hold of this model, you can buy it now on the Para Bellum Wargames website. Or, if your local store carries Conquest, it will be coming out this weekend. I've included a link to the Para Bellum website in the description below, so go ahead and go look at it there. As always, have an amazing day, and we will catch you in the next one.